Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are excited to have Rachel Justicia joining us here. She's the owner and founder of her own company. It's called Rachel Justicia Coaching. Now, she's from Portland, Oregon. Her services are remote. She's here to serve anyone and anywhere. And we're going to dive into the type of work she's doing with nutrition, health, wellness, you name it, she does it. And again, she can work with you anywhere around the world. Rachel Justicia joining us today. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Jill.
Well, we are excited to have you and excited to get to know you and your background. And let's just start off with telling us your website. How can we contact you right off the bat?
Yeah, so my website is www.racheljusticia.com. I know that's a hard one to pronounce, so Justicia.com for that last name.
Beautiful. And as a women's wellness expert, she's here to talk to us about all the work she's doing. And first and foremost, I want to know a little about just an overview of the company and some of the types of things you work on, just briefly. And then we're going to dive into you to get to know you, the woman behind all of this first.
Sure, great. I'm a women's wellness expert, NLP practitioner, and a metabolic balance practitioner. So primarily my services are nutrition, really helping women and men really with a holistic healing the body from inflammation, and then working with a science-backed nutrition program. And I do functional lab testing, supplementation, exercise, all of the things. So it's really like whole body sustainable health.
Wow. And by the way, I got to ask, where were you born and raised? And I would love to, get to know a little bit of your background. I got to read about you, so I know, but I want our listeners to get to know you and what inspired you here growing up in a small town.
Yeah, you can ask me anything. So go at it. I was raised in Michigan, definitely tiny little town, and spent most of my life there. And then after college, moved out to Portland, Oregon. So it was quite a change of scenery for me.
Aw. And let me ask you now, what brought you to Oregon, if you don't mind me asking?
No. I mean, a guy originally ish, and
Usually
also
that
this
does it for us. Yep, true.
at the time I really loved the city. It was kind of like a little big city, and it was very different from where I grew up. And I was kind of looking for an escape. Where I grew up, it was like if you don't go to college, it was like you settle down, you have a plethora of kids, nothing wrong with that, but that wasn't really what I was looking for. And so I went to college in Virginia, then came back home for a couple of months, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not ready to settle down. And it really wasn't the place where I thought I could have a big career. And so the guy was the bait. And then
Yep.
I was like, let's do this. And so I packed my car, drove across the country and with nothing really, and
Uh-huh.
started a new life.
No, wait, I also read you were working for, was it a law firm?
Yeah, so my degree is in psychology, and I
Okay.
originally I wanted to be a social worker. And then, so when I moved out to Oregon, I was a behavioral specialist for kids, and it was a really gnarly, hard job. And I was getting paid $9 an hour, and I was like, maybe this isn't what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, the guy and we didn't make it. And so I was at this point where I was like, okay, well, I'm not going home. I'm definitely not going to swallow my pride and, make my way back to Michigan. So I was like, I got to survive. So I got a job at a temp agency. I was doing admin, assistant work, delivering coffee, all of the
Yeah,
stuff,
the
feeling
basic
like a
things.
basic. Yeah, very basic. And eventually they hired me on as their manager, which I look back, I was like 25 years old managing this pretty high-end law firm downtown, had no clue what I was doing, working with really, really challenging male lawyers that were,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it it was definitely a learning experience of how to
And a
hold my own.
sexist environment, I'm sure.
Very,
I've worked in television my whole life. I get it. And unfortunately, a
totally.
lot of women like us have to deal with that.
Oh yeah, it was alive and well, and yeah, there wasn't a lot of like boundaries or
Mhm.
protection. Like I feel like there's a lot more in the workforce now today,
Yeah.
but yeah, there was none of that. I mean, it was like you hold your own, and so I did, and I was there for a few years, and then was finally able to. I was hired on at Oregon Health and Science University, and I worked in women's health, and I then
Got
managed
it.
physicians. So here I am, like still in my 20s, and work. I have now under my belt really felt like I had worked with some of the more difficult personalities
Yeah.
that are out there. But I loved that job. I loved working at the hospital. I loved the relationships. I really, the physicians I worked for were amazing, and that's where I actually decided to get my aesthetics license because I just had always had that passion to do that. But it was ingrained in me that I had to go to college. So I kind of didn't do the whole cosmetology route when I was younger. So
Mm-hmm.
I went to night school while I was managing at the hospital, and that's when I transitioned over to managing a high-end med spa in downtown Portland. So my
Wow, you've lived quite the life at an early age. You've done a lot. I commend you on all of
thank
these
you.
hardships and struggles, and overall amazing. Is your family proud?
Yeah, I think so. My family's a little disjuncted, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how proud they are.
Oh, well, I think it's amazing. I'm proud of you, and you're here
Well,
helping
thank you.
now so many women, which is amazing. So you're here as a women's wellness expert, and again, we want to urge everyone to go to your website. Let me spell that: RACHELJUSTICIA.com. And it's now time to talk about reviving, inspiring, and discovering. She's here, really teaching methods to so many women who may be, feeling burned out, the frustrated, right? Limiting beliefs. Let's talk about some of these services that you provide to women out there.
Yeah, so well, my signature one-on-one coaching is really a 6-month program that I have, and what it includes is the platform that I use for nutrition is metabolic balance. And the reason I really was drawn to getting that certification and drawn to that program was because the foundation of it is based in inflammation. And
Yeah.
so many times I feel like, and as a woman that has dieted on and off her whole life and had a very complicated relationship with food and my body. After I got sick from breast implant illness, I really had to
Ah, I read
approach,
about that. Yes, I'm so sorry.
yeah.
What happened with this?
Well, I got implants when I was in my 20s, and
Yeah.
it I thought that I was fine. And then after the birth of my son, and I was 40, he was unexpected. I just started getting really, really sick. Every autoimmune condition, my body was just like kind of falling apart. Depression, anxiety, panic attacks, dizziness, migraines. My hormones went into like the
Oh,
post-menopause range. Like
yeah.
so, I went to various doctors. Nobody knew what was wrong. They said that I was depressed. They wanted to put me on, antidepressants, and or I had allergies, or I was still postpartum. And so that began this like, kind of this surge for me of like advocating for myself and really just like learning so much about my body and health and nutrition. And I think it kind of gave me the fire to do what I do today. But yeah, I explanted about 5 years ago, and that was a journey, healing my body,
Yeah.
detoxing, and so yeah, I have the certifications, I have all the stuff, but I also feel like I've lived it, and so
Yeah.
there's a empathy that I really have for my clients that I
Absolutely.
bring
And
to the
by the way, you
table.
mentioned you have a son?
I do. He's almost 5. He'll be 5
Oh,
at the end of the month, August. Yeah,
Amazing. I have a 7 and 9-year-old. I have two boys myself. I could relate. Not an
love the
easy thing,
boys.
but it's the best thing in the world.
Yes, they're
And
busy,
well,
busy.
thank you for sharing your journey and your experience. Clearly, you can empathize with women out there who are going through so much. And I know why you're so passionate about, healing, your body first. And you mentioned that, with your own situation, you did that. And you want to talk a little about metabolic balance, right? Tell us a little bit about this approach with nutrition that you offer, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I came from kind of when I was trying to lose weight and do all the things, I came from like the macro world, it's like counting calories, counting,
Hmm.
carbs, counting this, and nothing wrong with that. But as I entered perimenopause and as I was like dealing with all this inflammation and healing my body, it wasn't working. And I was super frustrated because here I
Yeah.
am, like healthy, I'm exercising, I think I'm
Yeah.
eating all the right things.
Who knows,
So
right?
yeah. Metabolic balance is really a science-backed nutrition where I take clients' blood panels. So I look at 36 plus markers, and then we actually come up with a meal plan based on those markers, their history with food, their nutritional makeup, their
Mm-hmm.
all basically their story, all of them, which because it all matters. And then we kind of come up with a plan, and there's 4 phases to it. And the idea is that we heal the inflammation and we balance the blood sugar and the weight comes off. So we're not focusing on numbers
Yep.
necessarily. We're focusing on healing the body. And really, with the NLP, the
Oh, yeah, yeah.
foundation.
That's neuro-linguistic programming. Can you tell us what
Yeah,
that is specifically? Not
yes,
everybody may know.
yes. So in short, it's working with your brain.
Okay.
It's because our brain is definitely not our friend sometimes. So it's like reprogramming limiting beliefs, really letting go of some of these adult limiting beliefs that we carry with us that sometimes we don't really know that there are impeding us from reaching our
Mm-hmm.
goals. And so, I personally believe that the root cause of actual inflammation is suppressed emotion. And so when we can actually heal the deep rooted emotions and the things that we think are our story that we're carrying around, then we can actually address the physical inflammation,
Yep.
the psychological inflammation, and that's where the magic happens, really.
I love it. I love hearing this. Now you're working with clients all over, right?
Yes.
You do
So I'm
this
all virtual.
virtually. I was going to
Totally.
say, so there's no limitation. There's no, you can work in any state or anywhere. There's no limitations with your license and all.
There's no limitations except for a few states have limitations with the labs.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh,
New
yeah. Tell me
York,
that process, right? Because I know you mentioned
yeah.
you do labs. So you send somebody labs, you send them somewhere. I'm assuming it's important to get this done before you start any testing, whether it's with your doctor or with you, right? Could you share that process?
Yeah, I mean it's fairly simple. I work with a lab company, Ulta Labs, and they are usually contracted with Quest. So Quest
Okay.
is
Love
all across the
Quest. That's my
country.
favorite.
So
Yep.
but there are certain states, I believe there's like 5. New York is one of them. I believe New Jersey, I think maybe Rhode Island. There's a few that just don't allow anybody that is not a physician in that state to order labs. Now, there can be workarounds, so I don't want to deter people. But in general, I do everything online. I send them the requisition that is included in the package for the coaches, and then they can go to a local quest that's near them and get the labs. Takes 3 days. And then once I enter all the information in, I can usually get clients started within a week of them signing up. So it's fairly quick as far as that process is concerned.
Interesting. All right. Thank you for that. And could you share some of the client stories, some of the people you're working with? And I read some great testimonials on your site about weight loss. And it's always good to hear, from a client's mouth, the work that you do and how, amazing that they feel and, crediting you and, what you do for them.
I love my clients. I mean, they teach me so much too. I mean, they inspire me to just like keep going and keep doing this. But A lot of my clients, yes, they come to me because they want to lose weight, but when you are dealing with excess weight, it doesn't just, that's just one symptom, right? So many people, if you're having issues with your weight, there's usually inflammation, there's usually hormonal imbalance, there's energy issues, there's some gut imbalances. And so, I do work with a lot of women who are moms, who are burnt out, that can't seem to really find time for themselves. And so they have really deprioritized their own health and well-being. I love working with moms because there's this like inherent, as I'm sure you know, Jill, this mom guilt that like I think as soon as you pop out a
Uh-huh.
baby, it's like there.
Yes, totally. All the
And
time.
I'm like,
All the time.
so I think, I love empowering them to, say, hey, this is an investment in you. And so, yeah, my clients on average are losing usually about 10 to 15 pounds in the first month.
Okay.
A lot of that is inflammation. One of my clients, she is pre-diabetic, and I have managed to keep her off medication. I've also worked with a few male clients. A lot of the husbands of the wives that I work with will say,
Yeah.
hey, you're looking really
Hey.
good. And so they're like, what are you doing? And so that is a really nice marriage that happens because then they can do it together and there's support. So I love when that happens. And yeah, the goal is a lot of people are really trying to avoid or minimize medication, and really heal the body with nutrition and lifestyle changes. And that's what I love doing and helping them with.
Oh, I love hearing this. And now you, at one point, you were overweight as well. Is that true?
Yeah. So, I
Tell me
struggled with my,
about that. Because at first, when I read it, I was like, wait, as who she weighed 200 pounds, or this was a client testimony? This was you. Tell me.
yeah. I struggled with my weight. Let's see, I was almost 200 pounds before 14, the age of 13, 14. I mean, I was shopping at, Lane Bryant and like plus
Mm-hmm.
size stores, when I
Yeah.
was in middle school and high school. And
Yeah.
that was really, really hard for me. I was super uncomfortable in my body,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it was like, I think sometimes people associate weight with like laziness and,
Yeah.
eating a certain way. For me, I think it was very emotional. I was had held a lot of responsibility at a young age. There was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of like perfectionism that was and expectation that was put on me. I'm the oldest of two brothers. I did a lot of
Yeah.
caretaking. And so, my journey with, dieting and weight runs in the family. And so I kind of watched my mother and my grandmother and like, there was just this diet
Mm-hmm.
mindset, that and Medifast and Slim Fast and, all
Yeah.
these things that was just all around my house. And so, yeah, that was the beginning of my journey of really like not being comfortable in my body, not accepting what what I saw and also just feeling helpless in that, not really knowing what
Mm-hmm.
direction to go. And so yeah, that was a journey that really kind of morphed through my 20s and my 30s and then now my 40s.
Thank you for sharing that. At this time, we need to remind everyone how we can reach out to you. Please, would you mind sharing all forms of contact with us?
Yeah, so the people can reach out to me again via my website. So that's www.racheljusticia.com. My Instagram is at Rachel Justicia Coaching, and my Facebook is at Rachel Justicia. And then, yeah, my email is also on my website. You can shoot me an email as well. I'm very open to conversations, and I offer free consultations. So, there's no risk.
Oh, well, we love hearing that. Thank you for that. And we still have quite a few minutes left in our show today, 8 to be exact. Wow. How can we, again, let me ask you about this method, right? You mentioned you have a method that really works, and, you're here to give people this new perspective. And there's also, the gut health and hormones, which is important for women, right? That's a lot of people go through that, especially I'm in my 40s and it's like, well, the menopause thing. Oh my gosh. You can help with that, with weight loss, with stress. You mentioned detoxification. Then there's also mindset coaching. supplementation education. What else did you want to make sure we cover for today?
Well, I think I just want people to know that, we are not, you know, silos. So when we think about these symptoms that we're having, we have to
Hmm.
look at everything. And so, yeah, it sounds like I'm like tackling a lot with clients, and I am, because
Yep.
what I'm
Hmm.
promising is sustainable health and weight loss. And if you're just looking for like this 6 week like instant fix, like I'm definitely not your gal. Like, I'm really looking at what what created the problem in the first place, and now,
Hmm.
like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about all areas of your life, because what happens when you start changing
Yep.
certain areas of your life, it's like opening up Pandora's box. You're like, okay, now your lens becomes wider. You start
Yep.
looking at your relationships, you start looking at your life, you start looking at your job. I mean, that happened the other week where my client said to me, she's like, Rachel, I've been with you, I've lost this weight. I've realized that my stress level is so high. I've been doing a job that I hate. And she literally just quit. And she
Oh
was like,
my
she's so
gosh.
inspired.
I
And
get
so,
it.
like, it's amazing to, on the bigger picture, yes, weight loss is amazing. And like, that's part of this, but it's really about opening up and believing that your life can look
Okay.
different. And that's what I'm trying to help people realize.
Beautiful. And did you want to share any other stories? I know first and foremost, was it your grandma? She was kind of the one, is your mentor
Yeah,
that she inspired you?
yeah, that so professional mentors, I mean, I don't know that I can like name somebody that
Mm-hmm.
I have really like had this mentorship relationship, because my career was kind of all over the place. But yeah, my grandma was such a steady woman, and she was so humble, and every time I talked with her, met with her, she was always doing something for somebody. And she never expected anything in
Yeah.
return. She always was just helping and giving. And she was the woman that would show up and say, okay, what do we need to do? There was never complaining. There was
Yeah.
never, and she passed this past December, and even when I went to see her in her and right before she passed, you of course ask the question, right? How
Yeah.
are you doing? Are you? She's like, well, I'm hanging in there, I mean, she just never had anything negative to say, and so it's for me, it's like if I can hold a little bit of that and really look to help people, that's where I think I will be the most fulfilled. And that's when I think that energy will come back to me,
Yeah.
because that's really the energy that I want to do things in, is this helpful nature.
Oh,
So it was
great.
very inspiring.
Well, I love hearing this, and I want people to go to the website and really read your story and, reach out. Do you offer initial consultation for someone who's interested?
Yep. So I have lots of, I have my signature program. I also have a group program that I'm actually about to launch, which will be really exciting. I want to bring like I'm super excited about this because I think community is so important. And I think women often feel like they're alone. And so many times, like we're sharing in such a similar experience. We just aren't talking about it. So I'm really excited to launch that. And then I have functional lab testing. I have a lot of different areas that people can come in with. So, if
Yeah.
you're worried about budget, or you're worried about, commitment level, I customize everything. And yes, and that first 15-minute consultation is totally free. So people can reach out and book that.
Well, I also know there's some free resources there online as well. You can download some helpful guides to
Yep.
start. And like you mentioned, chat. Click on the button on the website, let's chat. There's no strings attached there. But if you want to get started, I know you offer something for weight loss and inflammation. You also mentioned EFT tapping. Can I just ask you a little bit about tapping?
Yeah, tapping. So nervous system regulation is super important.
Okay.
So we're talking about stress, and tapping is really something that helped me as I was going through breast implant illness, because we hold in our bodies. We hold
Yeah.
pain and we hold trauma. And sometimes we think like talk therapy is like how we can get that out, but
Mm-hmm.
we have to actually release it through the body. And also if we want to bring things in, meaning you want to bring in abundance, you want to bring in
Yeah.
confidence, you want to bring in etc. Tapping can be a great way. So when we're tapping various parts of the body, and there's a free guide on my site for this, we're bringing that in, and it sends that energy through the body. It's an amazing tactic to use when you
Okay.
are feeling super anxious, or when you are feeling really stressed. So a lot of therapists who do like EMDR work, or they're doing like somatic type therapy, they will integrate this into their practice as well. So I think we are all overloaded these days with stress and trauma. And, it's really important that we have things at home that we can do, that because sometimes going and doing all these things and appointments and things like that can even be dysregulating to our nervous system, because we're like, oh my God, I can't really do one more thing. And so this is just a way that you can lie in your bed, you can sit in a chair, and you can do this practice. And it's very, very
It's so
healing.
true. Good. Well, thank you again for joining us, for being here. And Rachel, one more
Yeah.
time, tell us the website, any social media pages we can find you at.
I'm at www.racheljusticia.com, and Instagram is at Rachel Justicia Coaching. And then my Facebook page is at Rachel Justicia.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Pleasure having you here and
Thank
excited to get
you.
to know you today. Thank you for sharing all of your stories, and congrats on being a mom and a successful business owner and doing all that you do. It's impressive. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
Thank
your
you,
time.
Jill.
You're welcome, and looking forward. Hopefully we get to connect again.
Yeah, I would
Uh,
love that.
Well, have a great weekend, okay? And we'll talk
Okay.
soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, you too.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.